Finally, I want to talk about having multiple transformations of a parabola. So we've talked about how the A value controls the vertical stretch, compress, and reflect, and let's take a look at that really quickly. When my value is greater than 1 in either direction, either positive 1 or negative 1, so if it's bigger than 1, it gets stretched and gets pulled higher and higher like we've talked about, so it looks like it's getting skinnier. We've talked about how if my A value is negative, the graph is going to flip over the x-axis and open downward. And as that number gets bigger, -3, -4, -5, once again, it's being stretched vertically. It's just also been reflected. If my value is between 0 and 1, it makes our graph wider. We see that there. And same if it's negative number between 0 and 1, it's still wider. It just also opens downward. So I can do that. I can also move my graph left and right. So remember, our h value moves the graph to the right or moves it to the left. Don't forget that h works opposite than what you expect. So if in your equation you see y equals some number x plus 3, if it's plus 3, it moves to the left. Remember, it's minus, so minus 3, I would see a plus 3, it moves to the left. If I look at my equation and I see a minus 3, so minus positive 3, it moves to the right. So look at your equation. Whatever your h value is, your graph has moved in the opposite direction, left and right. And finally, our k value moves things up and down. That's our vertical translate. So it moves our graph up, moves our graph down, and k operates just the way you expect. If my k value is positive, I've moved my graph up above the x-axis. If my k value is negative, I've moved it down below the x-axis. Let's see if we can combine transformations. So let's say I want to give my graph vertical stretch by a factor of 2. The vertical stretch is controlled by the a value, so I would set this to 2. And I want to move my vertex. I want to make this point be at 2, 2. So I've stretched my graph and I want to move it. Well, I can change the h value. So if I'll write this out in a moment when we're done. 2, and I can also move it up by 2. So what would our equation of this parabola be? Y equals, we have vertical stretch by a factor of 2, so my a value is 2. X is our variable, we always have our x. We've moved our graph to the right, so I should see a -2 here for the h value, and I've moved it up by 2, so plus 2. I'm going to do another example where the numbers aren't all the same. Let's vertical stretch by a factor of 3. Let's make our vertex be at -6, 2. So I need to move my graph 6 units to the left. So I want to see a +6 here. So it's going to be -6, or in other words, +6. And I want it to be at 2. I did that already. So what would the equation of this graph be? Well, let's put our pieces together. Y equals vertical stretch by a factor of 3, so a value of 3. We moved it 6 units to the left, so I should see a +6 in my equation. And we moved it up 2 units, so +2. All right, and that's your crash course in multiple transformations of parabolas. Check out the previous videos for the individual components, but we can also apply them all at once as well. And I'll make another video working through a few practice questions about this.